This is all about Bitcoin, a show dedicated to all things questions and markets related to Bitcoin, little b for the currency, and Bitcoin, big B for the network, a collective journey to understand, apply, and use this innovation. All Bitcoin, all the time. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Let's have a live look at Bitcoin. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price, XBX index, currently trading at $45,438. Bitcoin is slightly down, about 0.67% over the past 24 hours. The most reliable reference prices for institutions since 2014 are now published under the CoinDesk brand, trusted globally as the leader in crypto news, events, and data. So let's take a look at some of our top stories. Crypto adoption has increased 23-fold globally over the past year, with India, Pakistan, Ukraine, and other emerging markets leading the fold. Chainalysis reporting that Chinese and U.S. positions as world leaders in crypto adoption are waning amid an ongoing Chinese crypto crackdown and the growing role of major financial institutions in crypto markets. And a new SEC filing reveals that a parade of mega banks, including Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Bank of America asset managers such as BlackRock, Miller Valley Partners, and Bridgewater, and even states such as Tennessee's Treasury, hold COINBASE stock. The investments speak to the exploding demand for exposure to the crypto economy, not just the assets themselves. But not all crypto stocks are alike. Galaxy Digital and Mike Novogratz's merchant bank with crypto exposure posted a second quarter net loss of over $175 million. By contrast, Netherlands' central bank is joining the ranks of global regulators issuing warnings about crypto exchange Binance. The Dutch bank saying Wednesday that Binance is, quote, providing crypto services in the Netherlands without the required legal registration. This follows similar warnings from financial overseers in a number of jurisdictions in recent months, including the UK, Japan, Hong Kong, and Malaysia. Finally, Larry Dean Harmon, the CEO of darknet Bitcoin mixing service Helix, pled guilty to a money laundering charge today in D.C. District Court. Between July of 2014 and December of 2017, Helix processed reportedly over 350,000 BTC for drug vendors on Alphabet and other marketplaces. At today's prices, Helix processed over $16 billion worth of Bitcoin. The case against Harmon was the first time the U.S. legal and financial watchdogs called Bitcoin mixing services illegal.
The chart of the day is brought to you by Crypto.com, the world's fastest growing crypto app.
The Lightning Network, a layer 2 payment solution built on top of the Bitcoin blockchain that enables secure, private, and near instantaneous transactions at little to no cost, has surpassed 25,000 active nodes for the first time, an indication that the network is growing stronger with more nodes and more channels. Over the past 30 days alone, there has been an 8% increase in the number of active nodes. And this chart here shows the number of channels that process off-chain Bitcoin transactions expanded their capacity by almost 80% over the past 30 days to over 2,300 BTC, according to data from 1ML. And the increase in channels means that there are more connections between the nodes. Since every single jump between nodes costs a fee, having more channels available increases the chances of finding a more efficient route for the transaction's final destination. Thus, increased connectivity can greatly reduce the fees associated with sending transactions. And joining us now to discuss is CoinDesk Director of Data and Indexes, Galen Moore in Boston. Welcome, Galen. We always enjoy having you this afternoon. So what do you make of this skyrocketing activity on the Lightning Network?
You know, we've talked about this before, Christine, and I think it's been a banner year for Lightning. You know, beyond the initial excitement, the network had kind of been flat for some time in terms of adoption. We've seen that. We've seen a breakout year so far this year, more than double the amount of Bitcoin staked in these nodes, in these active channels. And as you noted, the increase in the number of active channels. I think I guess the question to be asked is like, how low can you go?
How are people using Lightning Network more and more?
The supply is up for sure, but is the demand up? The average fee. So you know, the way Lightning works is you can operate a node and route transactions. You stake Bitcoin in order to do that, and you receive a share of the transaction fee in return for your troubles. Right now, the median base fee for a transaction on Lightning is about 1 Satoshi. That's 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin, or about 5/100ths of a penny. That's on average, that's a fee rate of about 1/1000th of a percent. So people are not necessarily doing this for the money.
No.
I think. But I think there's, perhaps in anticipation that in the future there will be an increased demand for this network.
So there are more nodes, there are more channels. Are people using the network more?
I think that sort of, it's hard to say, right? Lightning to some extent has privacy features. I mean, for example, if you and I open a channel together, we might transact any number of times, and those transactions are never revealed to the network until such time as we close that channel. So, it's hard to say how many people might be using it for those kind of back and forth transactions. But I think.
But what we know is that the people who have the channels, who have the nodes, are not making much from it. So.
Yeah, exactly. If the fee is an indicator of demand, then I would say that. I mean, obviously, the point of Lightning is to have fees be low, but I think given they're quite low, so perhaps if we see that fee start to pick up a little bit to sort of the lower regions of the very bottom of where they might be, then.
Right. Galen, nevertheless, Chainalysis is releasing their 2021 Global Crypto Adoption Index to kick off their Geography of Cryptocurrency report series. And emerging markets are adopting crypto, according to this report, and taking away some of the dominance by China and the United States.
Yeah, that's an interesting report, Christine. I mean, look, we saw Vietnam, India, Pakistan, Ukraine, and Kenya top the list of the most active countries in crypto, according to Chainalysis. They were above the two countries that we often see in the headlines. Nigeria and Venezuela were the number 6 and 7 spots, with the U.S. beneath that. And I think, to some extent, that reflects the methodology that Chainalysis is using. They're attempting to measure adoption by individuals so that doesn't get sort of washed out by the large-scale investor activity that might be taking place in geographies like the U.S., Europe, or Asia, East Asia. That said, I was very interested to see some of those countries up there, and I'm curious what's going on the ground. Vietnam, for example, the government announced a pilot in virtual currency last month. That is probably more likely to be an effect than a cause, I would think. And I'm curious to hear more about, the anecdotes about what's happening on the ground in Vietnam.
It is wonderful to see emerging markets taking advantage of this digital currency technology. So great to see that. And despite Bitcoin rising and all this activity, if we look at the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, we have a chart here, widely seen as a gauge on institutional adoption on crypto, it's been trading at a discount. Can you explain what's going on?
Sure. The GBTC premium was a noted factor for a long time. In February, that flipped to become the GBTC discount. So it set a low point for the past 3 months yesterday at about 15.3%. And it's still near that at about 14% last I checked. And you can check yourself on tradeblock.com, which is a CoinDesk subsidiary. Look, I mean, GBTC premium discount is a hard signal to read. GBTC buyers are a mixture of institutional and retail buyers. You can buy GBTC on your Charles Schwab account. On the other hand, many asset managers are constrained in terms of what sort of ways they can use to get access to Bitcoin. And GBTC on the secondary market may be the sort of preferred alternative. Also, there's the factor that the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust itself remains closed to new issuance and has been for most of the year.
Not to mention that there's more competition. There are other Bitcoin trusts out there, and there are Bitcoin ETFs in Canada, at least.
That's correct. And then you had this sort of cliff in July with the expiration of a number of the lockups on some of the primary issuance that occurred toward the end of last year, this July. And that I don't think, yielded the sort of increase in the discount. The widening of the spread was not, it went to single digits at times during July, even as that raft of lockups expired. And you're now seeing it drop back deeper into double digits, even as demand for Bitcoin seems to be picking up. So, and again, of course, hanging over all this is the stated intention of Grayscale to convert the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust into an ETF. So I think, a lot of factors here.
If they restructure it to do Bitcoin futures, maybe they'll have a better chance with Gary Gensler. All right, Galen. we'll end it there. But thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you going through the analysis with us. That was CoinDesk Director of Data and Indexes, Galen. More coming up. Bitcoin price analysis with money manager Quantum Economics. All right, let's have another live look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin trading at $45,473, so slightly down over the past 24 hours. Bitcoin held initial support above 43,000 during Asian trading hours as intraday charts appear to be oversold, according to CoinDesk analysts. Buyers are taking a breather after a near 13% rally month to date and will likely defend breakout support near the $42,000 level. And joining us now to discuss Bitcoin price is quantum economics analyst Alexandre Lores. Welcome, Alex. Good to have you on the show. So Bitcoin has been rallying over the past few days to higher highs, but we're seeing a bit of a pullback today. Is it just temporary? Oh, I think you're on mute. Oh, we're still having audio issues, Alexandre. Perhaps if, oh. We'll get our audio technicians to work with you, Alexandre. Okay. So again, we've seen Bitcoin has been rallying over the past couple of days to higher highs. We're going to see if they are going to pull, what is the reason for this pullback. And we'll see if we can get Alexandre back on with his audio with us. All right, and we have Bitcoin right now. It's trading at $45,458. Bitcoin is slightly down about 0.3% for the day. And Alexandre, I hear we have you back. Hello?
Hi, good to be here.
Okay, there we go, Alexandre. Okay, quantum economics analyst Alexandre Lores, thank you for joining us for some Bitcoin analysis. So, as I was saying, we have seen a rally in Bitcoin over the past couple of days, but it is a bit of a pullback recently. And I'm wondering, what's your outlook on Bitcoin for the near term?
I'm still bullish on the near term. I think there's been some rough waters in the U.S. markets with recent news in Afghanistan and various things, as well as concern about potential regulation and news of crackdowns. At the same time, that's matched with very bullish news that, perhaps this could lead to an ETF. So I still think that in the near term, still very bullish. I don't think, the support is at 42, 43. If that breaks, then it would turn to bearish. But I think near term, still bullish, and we're headed upwards.
Well, yeah, we are hitting higher highs. And actually, during the infrastructure bill, even though the crypto provisions within and the compromise amendment in the infrastructure bill failed, we still saw the crypto markets rise. So any idea what may be the catalyst behind this push?
I think there's several. First of all, Congress realized that there was a significant support for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies in the American public. And secondly, in a very nuts and bolts technical aspect, a lot of the Bitcoin miners that had been unplugged and the hash rate had gone down significantly after the China crackdown have been coming back online. And difficulty rate continues to increase, the hash rate continues to increase as the Bitcoin network, mining network continues to strengthen and being plugged back in.
At the same time, over the summer months, we've been seeing low volumes and trading activity in the crypto markets in general, yet also we're seeing this rise and large movements from wallets from whales, basically. Do you have any kind of sense what that may be all about?
Well, I think one thing, if the mood on Bitcoin Twitter is anything, there's a lot more people that just want to hold their Bitcoin. I, for one, I'm not trading any Bitcoin. I'm just buying and holding. And I think that's a stronger factor because that is a huge push of people that are just getting into Bitcoin to just hold it for their retirement, as even Senator Lummis said, right? That's a key strategy. So I think there's a lot more of that happening.
Senator Lummis, a very crypto-friendly senator from Wyoming who has been very pro-Bitcoin and crypto. All right, Alexander, we'll leave it there. Thank you for joining us. That was quantum economics analyst Alexandre Lores. And that's it for All About Bitcoin. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Join us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in New York for First Mover, your first look at the day's global crypto news headlines. You're watching CoinDesk TV.